Everyone should get paid. Whether you're rich, you're poor, or stuck in the middle, you should be receiving a recurring handout from the government. Okay, so allow me to give you a brief history of my foray into content creation. It all started 5 years ago when I started writing for Hub Pages, and my motivations for doing so were completely off base because all I wanted to do was earn some money and possibly establish passive income. And this was me when I just started working a part-time job to help me get through law school, which was pretty naive to think that I would still have some time left over to write stuff at the end of the day, which was usually midnight if you're taking law full-time. Okay, so I had no idea what to write about, plus I didn't have that much extra time to write stuff. What would I write about? Some half-baked commentary article about LeBron James and how he's the GOAT and how that type of content has been oversaturated by Bleacher Report wannabes and sports websites that tune into the NBA 24/7? I wasn't going to just write about basketball. I wasn't going to be just another online sports journalist wannabe and write glorified social media posts and do it in long paragraphs with Wikimedia Commons grabbed low-quality photos of NBA players. But one weekend, if I remember it correctly, one of my law professors canceled and I happened to be bringing a laptop. That was when it hit me. What if I wrote a little bit about myself? Not like a memoir, but for people like me. You see, I'd like to think I'm part of the middle class, but I'm not. Is there even a middle class in a country like the Philippines? That's how I came to writing the article, What It Means to Be Middle Class in the Philippines. The link is in the description in case you want to have a read. As you can see, this article is one of my oldest ones, and for some reason, it stood out from the subpar ones I wrote from 5 years ago. It's probably the least subpar, judging from its having been relevant to Google searches. If you take a look at how it's done, it's one of my most viewed articles of all time at over 13,000 views, which is not that much compared to really good articles, but I'm still pretty glad that there were 13,000 different instances or moments where a person decided that what I wrote was interesting enough to be clicked. Anyway, why is this article any relevant to my point at the beginning of this video, the very title of this video? Well, I came across a TED Ed video, one of those video essays that provoke an idea, and they're usually well researched and they always tell me something I hadn't thought of before or at least paid much attention to. And this TED Ed video was all about the welfare trap. What's the welfare trap anyway? So like any normal person, in order to find out, I clicked on the first article that popped up on Google and I trusted the almighty Wikipedia. Just reading off it, it says that the welfare trap theory asserts that taxation and welfare systems can jointly contribute to keep people on social insurance because the withdrawal of means-tested benefits that comes with entering low-paid work causes there to be no significant increase in total income. According to this theory, an individual sees that the opportunity cost of returning to work is too great for too little a financial return. In short, a person is inside a welfare trap when it costs more to actually work a certain job instead of just relying on government handouts. Why bother looking for a job when earning an income means that the government will stop paying you now that it knows that you have a job? This idea might sound simple, but it's quite complex to be covered in just one video. An example of this welfare trap for us here in the Philippines would be the 4Ps, or the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, which has been around for almost 15 years now. Simply, in that 4Ps program, if you're poor enough, you are qualified to get a recurring cash benefit from the government. And if you are not poor enough, even if you're just earning minimum wage or barely higher than minimum wage, even if you spend hundreds of pesos to commute to work every day or spend an insane amount of rent that your take-home pay becomes just enough to pay for food, you will not be qualified to be part of the 4Ps. Same idea that Towson University lecturer Howard Batehurd Jr. wrote about, the welfare cliff. The link is in the description also. His example was similar to the 4Ps. He starts by telling the reader to pretend that you are a poor, single parent of 2 kids in Chicago, working full-time and earning $12 an hour. Your boss offers you a promotion for $15 an hour. Should you take the promotion? TLDR, you shouldn't take the promotion because the combined value of welfare benefits, which includes food, housing, and childcare, would give you an income of $63,000 a year. And if you suddenly earned $15 an hour, your benefits would be slashed by $8,000 and you'll pay more taxes and you end up with $60,000 a year, 60, which is less than what you would have made if you earned $12 an hour. And this is the kicker. If you got promoted even further to $18 an hour, your benefits would disappear almost completely and your combined annual income becomes $39,000. That's $24,000 less than what you would have gotten had you stayed at your lowly, borderline minimum wage job of $12 an hour. And so, what's the solution? In my 2016 article, I wrote about universal basic income, which I hardly knew much about. And if everyone was paid something, regardless of income status, employment status, would everyone want to work now? Because let's face it, if you earned minimum wage in the Philippines, you're sometimes better off just getting by the 4 Ps because at least you wouldn't have to pay for commute or rent. The price? Dignity. I'll end this unpopular opinion by quoting the author of the Welfare Cliff article. It's tragic because one of the keys to human happiness is earned self-respect, which requires, as Charles Murray has written, making one's own way in the world. The vast majority of poor people don't want welfare and they don't want handouts. They want a good job with which they can support themselves and their families comfortably. Thank you for listening. Until next time.